So we're going to kick off our session today with leveraging beef genetics as a climate-smart sustainability practice. We have Dr. Williams here. He's a sustainable livestock technical manager for Trust in Food. Robert's going to share some details of the activities that they're involved with, the Trust in Food is involved with, and their mission is really to accelerate the transition and the adoption of climate-smart practices. So with that, Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Dr. Goldens. Well, those of you that know me know this is a little bit different direction in terms of my career and where I've been in terms of working, breed associations for most of my career and managing some ranches as well. But really, I think it's an opportunity. And I'll get into it a little bit in the presentation here, but an opportunity for us as an industry to really make some changes. Maybe we haven't made in the past, and if we look back well, first of all, I want to say that it's nice that as you look at climate smart, sustainability, and some of the terms that a lot of you that are younger, are really familiar with. Some of us have been around this business for a long time, and we struggle with a little bit of that, and the definition we've worked over the years about sustainability and what it really means. And for us, really early on, Jared, we have to stay in business, right? And that's the first thing, staying in business, but doing it efficiently. The nice thing about it is that really fits into what we try doing, and we have been doing a pretty good job of it, I think, in terms of those traits that are important to us in terms of whether it's growth rate, feed efficiency, wean weight, pound production, those types of things, reproduction that are important to sustainability and work for in terms of lowering greenhouse gas emissions, I think. So that's a good start for us, on this pathway forward. And we've got a lot of young scientists and young folks coming along in this industry that are taking maybe a little different path than what we did in our past. And they've, the low-hanging fruit's gone, and so they're going to have to collect more data on different traits than what we've collected before. Some of you will remember this particular graph that Dr. gave her a few years ago, 15 years ago, I'm not sure what year it was, but she really pointed out that about 1975, 1980, there was a real change. Up to that period of time, as cow numbers increased, so did beef production, obviously. But about that time, 1975, 1980, some things started to happen. And, that started to burn. Cow numbers continually went down year after year, while beef production actually went up some. The other things, I looked at this graph and I thought about it the other day a little bit more too. There were some other things that happened about that same time. There are things important. And in the 1980s, I think about it, or that period of time, right there, it would take a few years around 1980. It was important years for the beef industry. We had difference in marketing. CAB coming on about that same time, so that how we marketed beef began to change. Also, EPDs were released. Genetic evaluations, the animal model, those sorts of things came into play. So the way we selected cattle really started to change. So there's a lot of important things that happened. Right about then, we saw some changes in our production because of those things. Also, management, not really my expertise in terms of forages and those types of things that we did in animal health. But we know those things also played an important role in production changes that we saw about that period of time. So when I looked at that, I remember that graph, the other day I was preparing this presentation, but what's it look like now? I mean, what have we done since, that goes through 2008. So what's it look like, since 2008? So I graphed that same thing. This goes from 1975 to 2023. So it includes those years from 1975 to 2008 that was on the other graph. So what happened, those 15 years or so since 2008 that in terms of beef production? We've seen a similar trend. Beef production continues to rise, maybe not quite as sharply, but it continues to rise. Cow numbers continue to fall. And when we look at those cow numbers, those are both beef and dairy cows, and had a calf, from USDA. So it's important. I think, we get back out there though, in about 2008, 2010, 12, that kind of flattened in terms of beef production. Cow numbers kept going down, but beef production, kind of stopped going up. Then we saw another rise in beef production in more recent years, the last 4 or 5 years. If we break that down, and well, here's the graph in terms of pounds of beef production per cow. And it's a continual rise. That's a pretty steady rise from 1975 through the current year 2003. But if we look at those numbers, 2010 to 2023, we saw, I think, for 2010 to 2017, 18, cow numbers and beef production kind of followed the same trend. Then beef production kind of flattened off a little bit around 2018, 19, a little bit. Cow numbers came down a little bit. Then we had a rise again. So what was going on? What created that rise right there? We looked at carcass weight. We had an increase in carcass weight in 2019, about 20 pounds average. So that created a little bit of the jump. So what else might be at play? I was wondering. I always thought about when I looked at these graphs, what's the import numbers look like? Does the imported cattle, because those also count in terms of pounds of production, did they have any kind of an effect on our beef production here with our cows? Are we really seeing the right story? So I looked at that, and it's pretty erratic from year to year, but I don't think there's any kind of a trend there over time. So, I mean, 1 year, yes, up, down, but over time, I don't think that's really, if you look at it in terms of the trend line, it's pretty flat, I think, in terms of having an effect on pounds of beef production. You're setting one around, 2 million head, probably an average imports. So I think those are all good numbers. We'll continue, to see improvement in beef production with lower cow numbers. And I think that's important to us. I think, and one note, so I used to give this presentation years ago. And then, when I was working for Charlotte, we were talking about breed registries. I had an opportunity to talk about breed associations a little bit in terms of what was going on there. So I wanted to throw this in here too from those days gone by. So we had 2.8 million fewer cows in calf from 2019 to 2023. And for those of you selling bulls, that's about 139,000 fewer bulls. If you turn out one bull to 20 cows, you turn out about 139,000 fewer bulls every year. So that does have an impact on breed associations and dollars available for research. We often look, I think it came up in this morning's presentation, one of them, about breed associations, getting research done. And a lot of them are doing that, but it is a challenge for them. And especially if we see dropping numbers of registrations in these breed associations across the board. So that's a real concern, I think, in terms of where those research dollars and efforts are going to come from as we move forward. So I did look at, beef semen sales, or total semen sales. It's flattened out in the last, 10 years, but we saw, drastic increase. In fact, domestic semen sales as a percentage of total cows, beef and dairy, increased about 36% to 68% of the total beef cows from 2001 to 2015. That's beef and dairy cows, beef and dairy cows, total cows. So we had a sharp increase in those years. But since then, it's sort of flattened out. Now, we have seen some changes, and all of you are well aware of that in terms of beef on dairy semen. It's been significant. And in terms of beef sales, we've gone from about 3 to 7% of the total beef domestic semen sales were beef sales. But today, it's about 36% of the market. So there's been a huge increase in beef semen sales. But has that had an impact in the beef industry? Other than we're selling more semen, right, as producers, those of you in that business. But has it had an impact on beef AI in the beef industry? It hasn't. I mean, in fact, I think Horace Dairyman says there's last year, both domestically and internationally, in terms of U.S. semen sales, there was 1.2 million fewer units of semen that went on beef cows. So this sharp increase we've seen in beef semen sales is going in the dairy business, not on beef cows. So AI is a climate smart, sustainable practice. I think there's little argument that it's a role of AI, that as it plays in sustainability in terms of beef cattle production. We get increased production efficiencies through increased growth, reproduction, and all the things that we know that increase performance of cattle. But use of AI, there's an opportunity for genetic improvement that affects, like I said, reproduction, growth. We get calves, AI, we get calves at an earlier period in time in the calving season. Get a higher percentage of those calves early. So there's a lot of opportunity for artificial insemination. I was talking to someone out in the hallway earlier today started using AI. They were talking about the savings. So even if it costs me more money with, to do it, it's well worth it. I forget the number of cows, but there is $30,000 or $40,000 difference in his bottom line, getting those cows bred AI. So it was important to him. But as a beef industry, I think we've lagged behind the opportunity that the dairy industry has seen and has utilized to improve dairy production. So we've got some work and some catching up to do. So this job that I've recently taken, Farm Journal, and Trusted Food specifically, is a part of the Connected Ag Climate Smart Commodities pilot project. Now, some of you may be aware of this project. I've talked to a few of you, I think, out in the hallway earlier. Some of you may have already, applied for some of these grants. But the USDA put out over $3 billion, I believe it is, for USDA climate smart projects in agriculture. There's 141 of those grants. Farm Journal is one of those grants. We've got $40 million in the grant. So our grant, we're looking specifically at about 500 producers to enroll over the next 3 or 4 years for about 16 different practices in 19 different states. In 19 different states. So there's an opportunity here for financial assistance or support to implement climate smart projects in production. Now I'm a little narrow based. We've got several practices we can incorporate, but I'm really focused on livestock genetics and some other areas around livestock where I get to here in a minute. But those practices cover cover crops, nutrient management, manure management, fertilizer, various things. We've got several partners in our project. A couple of them I'll talk about here, ABS, AgriWeb, Merck. I'll talk about those. We've got a lot of different partners on the projects as we move forward in implementing these practices. So technical assistance, AgriWeb is one of our partners. And so everybody that enrolls in the livestock genetics program, for example, or in our virtual fencing program, for example, will get a free also subscription to AgriWeb to keep data as they move forward through the project for the next 3 or 4 years. Collect data on those cattle and the project as they move forward, which I'll get into. But so they get that free subscription. Also, those that are in the crop projects, fertilizer, get a free subscription to trim. So we cover 19 states with our project. You can go to trustedfood.com and learn more about those projects. There's actually a navigator there on the web page. You can go there and you go through it, and that actually not only goes through our projects, but it goes through all the other projects that have been approved, the other 140 projects that have been approved by USDA. USDA also has on their website, if you just Google's a great thing, right? So Google commodity projects, climate smart commodity projects, USDA, and that website will come up, or let me know and I can point you to that website as well. But that navigator will allow you to search through all of the available projects or practices that are available to whatever state you're in. So it covers, most all, I think all 50 states, but we're restricted to these 19 states here on the map. Primarily my area is the Kansas and north, Kansas, Colorado, north up through the Dakotas. So the project that I'm working on is the climate smart genetic interventions for terminal beef production. It's also got a maternal component to it. We're working with on this using their new era genetics tools. So we know earlier that AI offers some great opportunities to us to improve beef production. So the project will follow the cattle through. So we'll follow the cattle through and gather information through breeding all the way through carcass data collection. So each step of the process and through AgriWeb and helping keep the data, we're going to collect calving information, breeding information, calving information, weaning, feeding information, the type of forages or feed in the feedlot that they were on, and also then finally the carcass information back on those cattle through the project. So all of this is important data points to us that we fed into a lifetime cycle analysis for the cattle to measure greenhouse gas emissions. That project will be carried out at ABS. That part of the project will be carried out at ABS and their partner, which I'm not sure if they've decided who they're going to work with yet, but to do that calculation and science behind that won't be me, but that's the purpose of this project. We'll report that. It's also the same with the other projects we do, the crops and so forth. gathering similar kinds of information to estimate the effect we have on greenhouse gas emissions. Rotational grazing system is one of the practices I'm working with. It's kind of cool. I'm not some of you I think here in the room are already utilizing virtual fencing. And how do you get along with it? They're working for you? Working for you. Yeah. I think that's right. But that's kind of the exciting part of it, I think. And a few years ago, it really wasn't feasible. I don't think it wasn't that many years ago. But technology has changed, and so has the cost of putting in a model fence. So when you start as a producer, I think looking at putting in a model fence, and someone told me it was costing $15,000 a model fence. Years ago, when my dad had put in some, I think it said it was costing this money. You start, weighing that against virtual fencing, the cost of putting that virtual fencing system, and the opportunity to have a virtual fencing in terms of moving those cows, rotational grazing, those pastures. There's just a ton of benefits to it. Our first producer we signed up in the program was out Southwest Colorado here a few weeks ago. We put a virtual fence out there on about 40,000 acres, much of that was BLM land. They're down in canyons and up on mountains, and it's really a difficult area to manage cows in. So you use the horseback, you ride down the canyon and try to find the cows, it'll take you all day. So when you spend all day looking for the cows, it really doesn't leave you much time to manage the cows. You've got health issues to take care of them. Now with virtual fencing, you know where they're at. You look on your cell phone. You know where they're at, and right down to it. And you can address any health issues or issues you need to take care of. You can address it quicker and more efficient. So there's a lot of things I think that we haven't learned yet about the opportunities out there in terms of virtual fencing and what other advantages it may give to us in terms of management. But I think there is some things to work out in terms of technology. The lady out there, I think she's putting in two virtual fences around it because they're kind of maybe some of the cows are getting through that first one. So she's getting a little bit of a double whammy with them. But so there's some things we have to address. But the nice thing about technology is it's rapidly improving. We're just getting better and better. With those of you that have been around, remember the old bag phones we used to carry around in cars years ago, and now it's a cell phone, and how much cell phones a lot cheaper to pay for those bag phones, right? So, but technology is going to get better. So those issues that you're having, I think, the bright spot about that is, through early innovators like yourself, we're going to learn a lot of things and make a lot of improvements as we move forward. So I think it's an exciting time for the beef industry to move forward. Here's the navigator I was talking about that you can go to. So if you go to our webpage, trustinfood.com, the top, there's three little green butts, the middle button's a navigator. Or like I said, just Google USDA, these projects, and there'll be a navigator there for you as well. We also wanted to mention we got these Sustainable Ranchers Tours coming up. Next June 19th and 20th, we'll be in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And then 17th and 18th of July, we'll be at Shovel Dot Ranch, Bassett, Nebraska, Jurgensen Land and Cattle in Idaho, South Dakota, August 14th and 15th. And then Blackleg Ranch, McKenzie, North Dakota, September 11th and 12th. And a lot of these folks have implemented a lot of climate smart practices, whether it's vertical fencing or other projects they put in place that you'll be able to see in terms of grass and land management and rotational grazing, et cetera, that makes their operation more efficient. So I think it's really nice that as we go forward that we're able to do some things. I really appreciated Dr. Decker this morning and Dr. Lawman and their comments about things that we know we can do, research we know we need to do. The biggest problem we've always had, and we've had this problem my entire career, David, working with breed associations, is collecting data, right? That's been the biggest challenge, is collecting data. There's a lot of things we can do with data once we have it. The problem is we don't always have it in a lot of the right way. But we need a lot more data than we have. And always, build ourselves around the low-hanging fruit, winning weight, birth weight, things that are fairly easy to collect. There's other data we need to collect in terms of reproduction, feed efficiency, and moving forward to be able to analyze our data and make it kind of more sustainable. I think we're in for we had that big change, as I mentioned back around 1980. I think probably we're in position to have another big change. Something big in this, I think, industry is going to happen for us in terms of technology. It's going to allow us to be better collecting data, better utilizing that data, better making decisions that improve the profitability for beef ranches, beef production. farms in general, we don't have to. We don't have to extend this, so that's why I just wanted to mention about what we're about. Like I said, we're not the only one, there's 140 others, opportunities, and countries. Take advantage of things, some of this grant money out there, they went, find a smart, project, so. Look out, if you have any questions for me, let me know, I'll be happy to answer what I can. I'll be happy to look up some answers before we get back to you. Appreciate your time, and look forward to the rest of the conference. It's been a great conference so far. Excellent speaking up, and I said earlier, I don't remember who said it. Maybe one of the best conferences we've had in a while. I think that's true. As I look around, I've gone since 1992. I think I've missed 2. And there's kind of periods of years, people show up, people don't show up. And I kind of comes and goes, but you look around, and people are here. A lot of people here today that are important to move forward in the industry. They're doing a lot of great work. But this is in the hallway in terms of technology and their things are looking at. I think it's an exciting time in the industry.